Hey guys, we're here with another Foundations video where we are going to talk about how to structure chords that fit well within a worship song. As the single guitar player in a worship band, you are asked to play both lead and rhythm parts a lot of times, and both of these scenarios involve playing chords. Sometimes there are lead parts that are nested within a chord, sometimes we need to pick within a chord, and other times we need to strum pretty heavily. And knowing which shapes to use will help us play with the direction of the song and the rest of the band really well. So in this video, we're going to talk about adapting chord shapes to maintain focus within a song and how to think through which shapes to use in a progression. As we think about how to structure chords in a worship song, we want to make sure that we're doing all that we can to maintain focus with our playing. If we listen to our major scales, the first and the fifth intervals are going to be what keeps any lead line, vocal part, or chord shape tethered to the root of the song. So if we're in the key of D, this first and fifth, the D and the A in this major scale are what's going to be keeping us tethered to the original key of the song. So as we play chords, whether they're open or triads or whatever they are, incorporating as many firsts and fifths will maintain focus in the part. So let's take a look at a couple of examples with different types of chord shapes. So if we are in the key of D and we have an open D chord, this chord in and of itself has a lot of focus built in because we have a 1, 5, and a 1 already right there. It's kind of like a power shape. And if we were to go through maybe a 1, 4, 6, 5 progression and just play normal open chords, it wouldn't feel super tethered to the key of D. So if we play the D, then played a G, and then a B minor, and then an A, they would sound like they fit, but they wouldn't be incredibly focused. So if we slightly adapt each of these chords to maintain a fifth and a first in any way that we can, we're going to create a lot more focus. So here's a D, here's a G with an added 5 right there. So we're basically playing the same exact chord, just adding that G bottom, going to the B minor, keeping that same note there, and then suspending the A chord to incorporate the D keeps that 1 in there. So it sounds like all of these are pointing back to another key. So here's that again. Right back to our home base. Now let's take a look at a few examples based out of triad chords. The way that we approached those open chords just now involved changing the structure of the chord entirely. But what I'd like to do here is use our triads as a home base for us to move around from. And since triads have a first and a fifth interval within them naturally, we'll be primarily changing the third interval. I want to take a look very briefly at 3 triad shapes: the F shape, the D shape, and the A shape. The first is the F shape, which is the 1, 3, 5 triad right here. And the way that we would manipulate the third interval in, let's say, a 4, 1, 5 progression is simply like this. So you see, all that we did there was move the position of the third interval, and that helped us move throughout that progression really nicely. Moving to the D shape, which is a little lower, is right here. It's the 3, 5, 1 shape. And we're gonna, again, just move that third interval as we see fit. So here's the 4, back to the 1, then to the 5, then back to 6. So really simply just moving that third again. And the last shape is gonna be the A shape, which is the 5, 1, 3, right in the middle of the fretboard right here. And again, if we take that approach of moving the third, we have the 5 here, we have the 1 here, and we'll just move from the G, back to the D, and then the A, and then a B minor. 4, 1, 5, 6, or 1. So as you can see, really small tweaks in these chords, all requiring the addition or changing of only one note, can give them a completely new spin that keeps them focused in the original key of a song. Once we've established which chord shapes keep us rooted in the original key of a song, we then will have an easier time navigating chord progressions and accenting notes that push the song forward. If we don't identify which shapes are best for the song, we can fall into a rut and just play the same shape up and down the neck without following where the song is taking us, like this. In the key of D, that simple 4-1-5-6 progression, we could go like this. And that's technically playing the right chords, but there's no feel in that. There's no major or minor progression. It simply is just following the chords on a chord chart, and we don't want to do that. We want to be pushing forward the direction of the song with what we're playing. And one of the simplest ways to determine how to accent the right notes in a chord progression is to simply listen to where the progression is going and determine which home base shape will provide the best starting accent notes. As an example, like we were playing earlier, if we're playing a song with a 4-1-5-6 minor progression, there are a few ways that we can navigate it. If we start with our one chord in an A shape, whichever note we play on this B string is likely going to be accented the most because it's highest and it's the third interval in the chord. So we need to choose shapes that move the B string in the same direction as the song. So if I'm choosing shapes that will follow the 4-1-5-6 minor progression, I'll do kind of like I did earlier and just hammer on this G up here. Maybe I'll throw in another 5 on top with the 1. Whichever set of triad chords you choose, most of the time you're going to be adjusting the third interval. But approaching it a little differently and starting with our one chord in more of a power chord shape, the B string note is likely going to be accented again, but it will sound a bit different than the third interval because this time it's going to be another first, like an octave. Okay, so we're going to be moving the chord, but it's going to sound a little bit different. We're going to be moving the 5 a little bit. Every now and then we'll move the 1. And so it'll be kind of interchangeable, but we'll just need to follow where the song is going. So if we're doing 4-1-5-6 minor again, I'm probably going to start by moving the 5 down to a 4. So from here to here. And then when I get to the 5, I might move my 1 position down to this 5 and then move the 1 down to the 7 up here on the B string. So I'll just play through that real quick and you can kind of hear the difference. So it's not always going to be moving the 3 around. So if we're in the 4, then the 1, then the 5, then the 6, back to the 4, 1. So as we see in that example, sometimes a really simple approach without a lot of movement accomplishes what we need it to do. And I think it's important to remember that the emotion and feel of a chord in the context of a full band doesn't primarily come from every single note within the chord, but rather the more focused first and fifth intervals in whichever notes may be accented as a result of the chord shape. We hope that this video has been helpful to you in providing some guidelines for how to approach playing chords in your worship sets. And if you have any questions about this content at all, please feel free to reach out to us at worship@grace-bible.org. And we'll see you next time.